The next thing we're going to look at is comments. Sometimes we want to use comments to delineate and give ourselves information. When we come back to look at this code or somebody else looks at this code, we can leave a comment in our HTML just to inform them about what certain things are doing. So for instance, right in front of the head section, maybe I could do a comment. And we do a comment. The opening tag looks like this. It's an exclamation point with 2 dashes. Right? And I'm going to make my comment. The head section contains information about our web page. And then we close that with a dash diamond. Okay. The web browser ignores comments. Comments are only in there for humans to read. So anytime we do a big section of code or we do something that maybe you can't understand what it is right away, we can put a comment at the top so somebody else looking at the code, or if it's ourselves coming back later, it makes it easy for us to find things and remember what we did. And that's true of all programming. We use comments a lot. Matter of fact, let's make another comment here. The body contains the actual content of our page. And actually, I'm going to change that to displayed content of our page. Okay. So there's a couple comments explaining what the head section is for and what the body is for. So let's go on to learn a new tag. And the first tag we're going to learn about is the heading tag. We're going to learn how to do a heading element. Now don't confuse heading with the head section of our page. Okay, headings are different than the head section. Now that we're actually within our displayed page here inside the body, think about when you read a newspaper. Okay, an article, there's usually a headline, right? And then some text below it. So we're learning how to make the headlines with our heading tags. And they're simple. The opening tag is an H followed by a number, and you can see Notepad++ is trying to complete this for me. And it's a number from 1 to 6. Okay, and that determines size and formatting and some other things. We're going to go with what the defaults are for now. Let's do a H1. And then I'll put heading size 1 in text. And then I'll do my closing tag, which is closing H1. So /H1, remember the tags work in pairs in this case. H1 and /H1, and everything between H1 and /H1 is going to be a heading, and it's going to be displayed in a special way. So let me save this. Go over to my browser and refresh, and there we see our heading of size 1. What I want to do now is, let's make some different ones. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it 6 times. And then we'll go through here and make this a 2. And we'll do this one a 3, just so we can get an idea of how big these things are. 4 and a 4. And a 4, and there I forgot to change that one to a 3. This line would be an H5. Heading size 5 is our text. And this last line will be 6. Again, I'm going to save it. I'm using Control S to save it quickly. If you're on a Mac, you can use Apple S. And go over here and refresh. And there we see the 3 different sizes of headings that we can use on our page. Now later on, we'll learn how to adjust if we want heading size 1 to be a little bit bigger than that, and maybe size 4 a little smaller than that. We'll learn how to adjust those things later. But for now, we'll take the browser defaults. This is what it gives us for each one of those sizes. So when we do a web page, we might have some big headings like Mr. Geiger's page might be an H1, and underneath it, maybe we have an H2 called Mr. Geiger's family, and then another let's make this a 2. I want to do a section called hobbies. Let's just make this family. Family, hobbies, other information. And see, I left off a 2 on that one. And I want this to be a 2 as well. Excuse me, H2. H2. So I have an H1 and then a few H2s. Maybe I should add one more H2 here. H2 about. Use the wrong one. Save it. And let's refresh our page. Don't forget you have to save your text file before you refresh it in your web browser. So now my page is starting to get set up. I have Mr. Geiger's page. I have a section for about that's got its heading of size 2, a section for my family, section for my hobbies, refresh that, okay, and a section for other stuff. So we use headings to delineate parts of our page a lot of times. So what's next? Well, I'm going to do this. I like to use some white space. Right? White space makes it easy to see these sections instead of running them all together. I'm going to put a couple extra lines between each one of these. And in my about section, right underneath, I'm going to introduce you to another new tag, and that's the paragraph tag. It is simply a P, and it ends with a /P. And anything we put in between those two P's is considered a paragraph. So I can write a paragraph here about Mr. Geiger grew up in Northwest Ohio. He has lived here most of his life. Now I'm going to do something here because I'm starting to get over to the right edge of what I'm typing. And I want to show you I can do this most of his life, except for his time in the Army. Now I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to go over here to my page and I'm going to refresh it. And notice, just because I went to another line in my HTML code, it doesn't automatically mean there's another line here on my page. The browser breaks up lines how it sees fit. So if I bring this back here like this, now my page is not as wide, and the browser did put it on the second line. This can often be a frustration for people. They want to specify exactly what their page is always going to look like, but the reality is you can't specify everything because some of it is going to be left up to the browser, and some of it's going to be dependent on the page layout that you're using and the methods you're using. So there are ways to force line breaks, but in general, in this case, you know, if somebody's looking at this on a phone, their window is going to be narrow like this, and it's going to put it on 2 lines. If they're on a computer, they'll have a wider browser, and it will put it on 1 line. We'll learn more techniques for formatting things and changing how they work. But for now, that's what we're going to do. We're going to let the browser interpret it. We're only going to specify this part's a heading, this part's a paragraph. Now I can add more to my paragraph. And here's one of the things we like to do. Let me open up a new page, and in the search bar, I'm going to type lorem ipsum. Okay. Lorem ipsum is gobbledygook. So here's some lorem ipsum text. Okay. It's something that's used in the printing industry to fill up space. You know there's going to be something there, but you don't know exactly what the words are going to be. Lorem ipsum is meant to be, it looks like words, but it's not real words. The words are about as long as average English text. And it's kind of just a way to fill space. So I'm going to copy a little bit, and you can generate, you know, how many paragraphs you want. If I want 5 paragraphs of this, I can hit generate, and it'll give me 5 paragraphs. So if I want to test my page and use a little bit more, I'm just going to copy those here. I'm going to paste them. Okay. Now, all went on 1 line, right? That's okay. I can come back here and try to keep my lines about the same length, my lines of code about the same length. That doesn't mean it's going to specify the lines. Okay. So there's my about page now. I didn't write a whole bunch about myself. I didn't save it. Control S to save. Okay. But I can see what my paragraph's going to look like. So I can kind of get my page laid out, and I can come back later and write the real text. If we wanted to, we could have done this. Let's do a /p here. End that first paragraph. And then start a new one. Okay. And I start a new one. So there's my first paragraph. Here's my second paragraph. All under the same heading, about. Okay. So notice when I do a new paragraph, and now it's not this line in my code. Oops. Didn't want to do that. Not this line in my code, because I can leave that out. Google's trying to translate my lorem ipsum for me. Okay. I can leave that out, or I can put 5 spaces in here. And it still keeps 1 line between each paragraph. That's how our formatting is set up by default by our web browser. Now, different web browsers can do things slightly differently, but most of them keep a line of space between paragraphs. We'll learn how to force it to do what we want later on. Okay. So remember, the spaces and line breaks in your code do not mean that there are spaces and line breaks on your web page. That even goes for regular space characters. Let me see. After Mr. Geiger grew, I'm going to change it. I'm going to put 5 spaces in there. Okay, and I'll hit refresh. And notice it didn't put 5 spaces up here. Okay. It only does 1 space, and it ignores any extras. So those are some things you need to learn about. And again, our line length changes depending on how wide our browser is. Okay. We say it's a paragraph, and the browser takes takes care of the words on the line. How many words are there? Where our lines end? Where the breaks happen? Are all controlled by the web browser. All right, I'm going to stop there. We'll do some more in the next video.